Okay, we're gonna get started here. So, I apologize for everybody. This stream was a little bit last minute. I ended up having some free time this evening and decided that I would spend it and get some work done and do a little live streaming. So, going to be doing material design in Xaml again tonight. My normal Thursday stream, I had some requests to do more system command line work, so that's going to be on Thursday. But I didn't want to let the material design work stuff slip, and since I had free time, I figured I would powwow on that a little bit tonight and see about knocking out some more pull requests and getting some issues resolved, and we'll see how far we get on that tonight. So, for people who are looking for more XAML, this will be for you tonight. For people who are wanting to do more of the command line stuff, that will be on Thursday. I'm doing it at 9 p.m. Pacific, so I don't know what that translates for in your time zone. So let's get going here, and we'll flip over to my other one. I also have a new camera setup that I'm playing with, so we'll see how it goes. So there's been several pull requests that have come in, and there's been some issues and questions. This one here, I'm hoping, is a quick and simple one to take a look at. It looked like it was just a change to go through and do some of the open collective stuff. I know in the past people have asked if there is a way for them to support this library or donate. If you're interested, the Open Collective is the new way that we've set up to do it. For a long time, the old donation link was dead. So, and I believe this link is correct. Let's just verify that. Because there was a comment on the pull request that the description in the issue didn't match the link that was set. And so I can't remember whether it's Material Design in XAML Toolkit or just Material Design in XAML. We'll fire this up and make sure. And I think this was the issue, should just be that. Let's make sure this guy actually fires up and works. Ah, huzzah, there we go. Okay, so, and I think that was probably the issue that was mentioned here. Yeah, is that the issue mentions it at this link, but the commit actually targets this link, which if this is true, this is fine, because this is what the real link is that we're going for. So just take a quick peek through this and make sure that it is in fact in here. So this drops in a backers. Great. I'm trying to look at the order here. So backers on Open Collective above the build stuff. Sure, I might move that down later. We'll see how it looks. Let's see, contributors, so anybody who's contributed to the project, and then this backers here. Great, and then the sponsors. Is this actually, it's showing like it's commented out. And I can't tell if that's just, well, you know what we're going to do? This is just a README change. So I am going to accept it. Let's see, monkey with a cupcake. Love the name, Jess. And we're just going to merge this in, and then we'll just test it live and see how it goes, because it is only a README change, so it's not like anything. It's not like it's going to change anything too badly. And then I'm going to officially put it in the 260 milestone only because of the timing of this. It really, again, it's just a README change. It's not actually going to affect the library in any way. So let's go down here and take a look and see what this guy has done. So shows backers and sponsors here. I'm curious what the difference between these two, where these two links take us. So this is just, oh, they're both redirecting just down to the lower sections. So we may end up just chewing away at some of this. So let's take a look. So screenshots, all that stuff, great, great, great. Lots of screenshots. Keep going. So contributors. So if you see your picture in here, a huge thank you, everyone who contributes either pull requests or even just feedback. I know there's several people who have gone out of their way to test some of the new beta builds, and I definitely appreciate that. Hey, look, there's me. And then backers, if anybody wants to actually support, by all means, become a sponsor. What is the difference between these two links? I am not... Let's just look at these guys, because that... What is the difference? Because I don't know if we've really set up anything beyond just backers. And so I'm wondering if this sponsor link is kind of wasteful. We might just trim that down a little bit. So, okay. Yeah, I'm thinking it's probably not worth having both of these. Because this library really does have a pretty small budget that it operates on. I mean, we only have a couple things that actually chew up expenses, like the website and various things of that nature. But I think what we might do is we might just whack this sponsor bit until such a time as we actually need it. Yeah, I should leave it. Leave it? Nah, we'll leave it. Not hurt me. And doesn't bother me if somebody actually wants to go to that level and do some sponsoring of it. Great. So let's dive in over here. I want to see what's left in getting this 2.6.0 release, because we do have a lot of stuff that's out here. This bug came in earlier today. That might be worth looking at. Though I will have to go and download some stuff to be able to do it. I don't currently have the dot memory installed on this machine, so might come back to this. This might be a later bit, but it looks like there's probably a memory leak. It's a little hard to tell straight from this screenshot, only because this pulls into the Visual State Manager. See if I can make that bigger. Which this says to me that we probably have some issues with when these controls are in a virtualized manner where they're being held onto longer than they should be. So we'll it seems according to Steven it happens just in the demo app, so it should be fairly easy to reproduce, I imagine. So, but if somebody wants to grab that, if you're good with chasing down memory leaks, there's a couple statics in each of those classes that I suspect what's happening is the instance is being held onto in one of those static collections and not being released. So I'm suspecting that is the cause and just needs to get done. So let's see. So ripple effect is not centered for right to left direction. So this looks like a fix for that. Let's go, yeah, let's kind of just go top to bottom, because this looks like a good pull request to jump in, because I'm guessing this is the bug and then the fix for it. So, yep, there's the fix. So let's see, so there's a comment here, and we'll have to look a little bit in more detail. It also looks like there's probably been a conflict with this given the recent changes to the buttons layout, just seeing this. So let's take a look at the actual change in here. So intentionally sets left to right on flow direction, which I assume is ripple effect not centered. Okay, I'll have to look at that pop-up box and see what's going on. White space change, white space change, white space change. Formatting change, great. This actually matches and cleans up trailing white space there. And then this looks to be the actual fix. So check the flow direction, then if it's right to left, let's see, ripple X. And so the difference between whether you go from left or right, so the plus or the minus in there. Looks like it is probably right on point. And so this, oh, this is good. So it pulls the point.get position down inside of here so that we only do it if we aren't trying to center, because if we are trying to center it, that call is wasted. Perfect. So let's pull it down and check it out. So pull request 1146. So we'll jump over here and come down here to pull request 1146, and we will just check this out. Please fetch that for me. Awesome. So back here, and let's take a look. So yes, Visual Studio, go reload the universe for me. Okay, so that guy is pulled up. So let's also take a quick look here then at the bug that this is designed to fix and make sure that we actually look at that specific case. And this is something that's worth pointing out. I see a lot of comments about this online on Twitter about open source. And I will agree with many open source maintainers. There's no such thing as a quick and simple fix. I mean, it's hopefully at this point, it's obvious that even a small fix, I do try to check out people's pull requests. I do try to walk through them before just merging them in. Because once it merges into the library, it's now my responsibility to maintain it. And so I want to make sure that everything that flows in is of good quality and something that I can maintain. So let's see, this information, this guy here, and then this guy here, tagged it up. Okay, so this is apparently a nice, easy view of it, and let's just take a look at this. So in this case, I don't know if it's hard to see for you guys, but on the top one, the ripple effect, the kind of circle pulsing out, is occurring centered, whereas on the bottom one, it is clearly way off to the left, which, let's see, top one is going to be left to right, depending on current culture, and the bottom one is hard-coded to right to left. So left to right, probably, and then guaranteed right to left. Okay, so that we may just want to test with this little bit of code just to make sure we get something that's working. Okay, so let's go in here and let's just dump this little bit in. So stack panel, yeah, blah, 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 blah. So we'll just go over to main page. Let's see, main window, it's my home view. So scroll viewer, scroll viewer, scroll viewer, all this, lots of stuff, lots of stuff. Oh, this is a nice bug. For anybody who wants to go through and fix it, this is clearly still pointed to the old pledgey donation system that used to be in there. We've updated the project, but it still needs to be updated in the demo app. probably a nice one if anybody wants to take a look at that. While I'm in here, I can't help but fix the spelling errors. Okay. Yep, another reference. So if you want to hunt it, just do a search for Pledgy and get all of that switched over to Open Collective. Links in the README. Where was I going? So let's do, this one's going to be too difficult for me to find a good insertion point. We'll just go in here, and I will happily whack all of you guys in exchange for that demo little bit that was in there before. So let's see, update all of the imports, update the imports, update the import, and update the import. Thank you, ReSharper. Okay, and save, and let's make sure it works. Hopefully this. So now that we do have the fix brought in, we know that at least the attached GIF that was on the issue, this is the code that was failing, but we should be able to see it now succeed. And if this works, we will just undo our changes to the demo app. We'll fix the merge conflicts and get this guy merged in. Packet reference. Oh. So there is a unfortunate issue with some of the way that this library works. So rather than using the normal NuGet stuff, it uses Packet to pull down all of its dependencies, which is great because Packet works around a lot of the problems that used to exist in NuGet. The newer NuGet stuff is a lot better, but Packet also has the ability to pull in like just external C# files and reference them and do all kinds of other fancy stuff. So when it's normally not a problem for most people, but when toggling branches, if you toggle across something where there's been a dependency chain or dependency change, it's very easy for Packet to get confused, or even if there's just a CS proj change. I've seen it happen, where Packet gets very confused and is unable to run. The simple solution is just close Visual Studio and restart. The long explanation is Visual Studio keeps MS build processes running in the background for performance reasons. It's a lot quicker to just use an existing running process than start a new one every time. And so unfortunately those MS build processes occasionally can hold on to references, specifically build tasks, if anyone's built a custom MS build task. And so that can bite you every so often. It also occasionally bites this project a little bit because there's another library we use that I wrote called Show Me the Xaml, which is what's giving us those nice little buttons to be able to show the corresponding XAML for each of our controls. So you'll see that scattered through this XAML display control scattered throughout. It works with an MS build task, and so it can run into the same type of problem. So if you ever run into those issues, the simplest thing is just close Visual Studio and restart to make sure all your MS build processes die and are forced to reload everything, and then usually you're golden. So it's a little unfortunate, but okay. So Ripple is centered there. Ripple is centered there. I like it. I like it. I like it. I like it. Okay, so let's first undo. Let's go back here real quick. So Kraken will probably freak out for a minute while it realizes I've got a bunch of changes. So I believe this is the pasted in code for us. Come on, get Kraken. I know you can do it. You can do it. So I'm pretty sure we just want to throw away, yeah. We just want to throw away all the changes here. And sure. Spelling fix. We'll keep that. Stage all. And then I think what we're going to do is just rebase this guy on top of master, and then away we go. So for those people unfamiliar with Git or GitHub and how to go through and resolve things, the command we're going to use here. So let me follow this big long line back to where this commit was done, because Gitkraken shows this stuff in chronological order. So way back here, I assume this probably leads to from master. The work was done, the ripple effect change was done, so this is the fix for the ripple effect, and I'm guessing master was merged back in at that point to make sure that all the latest changes were on this branch. But then this thing has sat for a while, and you can see all of these dots are other changes that have come in and changed all the way up, leading us to here. So what we want to do is we want to take this branch and change the base commit. So you can think of the base commit in Git as the commit where this thing came from. So for example, the base of this commit is this guy here. The base of this one is this guy here. So if we rebase this branch, what it's going to do, is it will walk back through our Git history and replay these commits on top of the branch that we want it to. Effectively, pretend like these changes are being made from the latest position of where the master branch is set. So that is what we are going to do. So let's first of all start by, we're going to pull down, because you'll notice my master branch and the one on GitHub were different. So we're going to pull up mine just to make sure that those are in sync. And then we will right click on our master branch and rebase this branch onto master. So it'll run through, and I fully expect it to show merge conflicts. Okay, so merge conflicts. So with the buttons change here. So we have the change that exists on master and the change that exists here. And I think what we're probably going to do is take master wholesale, at least for this file, because this isn't related to the fix, and the change that was done to the buttons stuff was not related to this. So we'll hit save on the file there, and then we will effectively skip that commit and keep going forward. Because we took all of the changes from master, there was effectively no commit for it to do. Let's see here. Material design theme. So what does this thing, what are you telling me? That it was deleted? Stage file. This is interesting. I'm a little surprised at this, but okay, so you're no longer marked as continue rebase. What are you doing, Gitkraken? Rebase conflicts detected. Let's move this guy backwards for a minute and let's see what's going on here. So once again, take master wholesale on the buttons, and for the ripple, there we go. This is where we want to be a little more careful. Okay, so we do want this change because it moved this call down here, so that one above is no longer an issue. Guessing there must have been just a white space change. Conflict 1 of 2. And we'll go ahead and take the white space cleanup here as well. So we'll pick those both up. And then why? Am I missing something obvious? Resolve files. this should, I don't understand why it's blocking my rebase. So we'll let Visual Studio reload all, and then I might just go through and might have to kick this rebase forward. I have noticed this issue. Gitkraken occasionally gets itself into these states where it's almost like there's nothing to do. And it's not always obvious what the correct incantation is to get it to move forward. So usually my solution is just bounce into another tool. In this case, we'll just see if Visual Studio allows it. Because I am not very good with Git on the command line, which will be my fallback plan. Because effectively we can go through and tell it that this has been resolved because all of our conflicts are done. Am I missing something obvious? Gitkraken, this feels, why can we go forward? Just want to go forward. Continue with the commits. I think it's changes. Yeah, rebase in progress. I want to click the continue button, please. So hopefully that guy gets that. There we go. It looks like we're making progress. So it looks like that worked. And now we effectively have both the original commit for the change on the RIPL, and because we took the wholesale changes for button.xaml, and then a minor spelling fix, which works. So then we can go ahead and push this back out, and we will force push. Because we've effectively rewritten all of the history for the Git stack, it does require either a -F at the command line or on Gitkraken clicking the big red scary button that says, no, I actually know what I'm doing. So we'll just jump back over here real quick. And I just want to do a quick build to make sure we're still in a building state. Usually that's the biggest thing is on these rebases, if you mess up a merge, or sometimes things will auto merge, you can get code that isn't quite lined up. But we'll go back and look at our pull request, and I suspect now it'll be in a much happier state. So this guy comes down here. We've got a build running. The conflicts are now gone, which is great. And we'll let that guy finish real quick, and then hopefully knock 2 more items off of this 2.6.0 release, because we're getting very close for this. I'm thinking this is probably, don't hold me to this, probably in the next few weeks we'll get this guy out the door. It'll depend. I might have some more free time coming up in the next week or so. So if I get extra time, I will either live stream or I might just tackle this. We'll see how many questions and whatnot that come in and distract me. So let's get this guy going, and we will see. So it is worth noting that we are using the Azure pipelines just for the pull request verification. The actual builds are still being done with AppVer. At some point, I do intend to switch over all of them. Oh, this is just the one commit. I wanted to jump and look at the pipeline. Oh, view more details. So the big link that says click here to see what you want to see. Because the builds are pretty fast. So compilation succeeded, and then runs all of our unit tests, of which there aren't a ton, largely due to the fact that in a theming library there's some stuff that just doesn't lend itself well to unit testing. I mean, it's really hard to unit test to make sure that the control looks the way you expect. So, however, we do have enough custom controls and logic that I've started putting in unit tests for those things. just to make sure that we don't accidentally regress some bug fixes. So, yay! Everything passes. So, good enough for me. We'll go back over here. I'm not going to necessarily wait for it to finish uploading its artifacts. We will go ahead and comment, and then go ahead and get that merged. Confirm squash and merge. Cool. And so that, so on GitHub, if in your description you type fixes, or I think resolves, there's a couple things, and then pound in the issue number, it should, when the pull request is merged in, it should then automatically go and close the issue, which it has done. Perfect. That's exactly what we wanted. Excellent, excellent, excellent. So we are going to switch back over here, and we should be behind master on a commit. So let's pull up master, and then we will switch back over there. Still not come on, there it is. So these two changes got squashed, merged over. So we pulled master successfully. We'll switch back over to master. So we have all the latest stuffs. And then we will, I no longer need this branch. So that can go away. At some point I think I need to clean up these branches. I've lost track of what most of them go to, and probably don't need to be interested in holding on to those any longer. Okay, so let's come back here. That cleans that up. That cleans that up. Let's go back to our milestone. Refresh that guy, and huzzah! Okay, so this one here, this is more just needing to go through and do this. So request outline button style. So I think this one's been. So this is request. Is this a fix for that one? Does this say fix 1027? So I think this is probably just an issue here to pull in, and then yeah, so this reference is here, that guy there, and then that one there. So this guy here, and we may take a closer look at the corner radius. Current corner radius is small. Apparently supposed to be more like 3 or 4 pixels. So we'll take a look at this guy. So let's take a look at this. So outline button, border thickness 1. Yeah, so this guy has a corner radius of 2. The other thing is we now have, in the latest code, an attach property for corner radius. So we might want to change this up a little bit. So, well, let's go ahead and do this one next. Since I've got 2 of these items in here, we'll get this guy in and merged. So let's see, 1248 is the new magical number. Let's come down here, 1248. Yes. Please check it out. Oh, and I need a new branch name. So let's call this outline button style. Just so we can differentiate it from my master. For those of you submitting pull requests, it is mildly easier if you pull request from a branch that isn't your master. It doesn't really bother me that much, but it does make it mildly more convenient. What did you do? So discard all changes. Don't know. Occasionally when it does the checkout on this, it gets very, very confused. So let's just collapse my remotes. So get all of this, all of those changes done, and then just switch branches. That's all I want. Because it cannot access. That sounds like, yeah, we're going to run into that same packet issue. That is one of the annoying things about working on branches, is that they do tend to get in this weird state with those long-running MS build processes. I'm tempted to just straight up rebase this guy. No, let's look at it first, because I want to look at how that outline was done on the demo page. The nice part is this is just one individual commit, so it'll be pretty easy to go through and get stuff brought in. Let's bring that guy across. Come on, Visual Studio, you can do it. You can do it. I will say the performance improvements in Visual Studio 2019 are very nice. There are other issues with it, but I have noticed that at least the speed of loading the projects and solutions is noticeably faster than in 2017. So at least for this process of when you have to kill and relaunch, it goes a lot quicker. Let's make sure. So we are down on this branch. So let's fire this guy up and take a look at him. So it looks like it should be pretty simple. One enabled and one disabled next to the flat ones. Okay, so this is actually good. And thank you for this comment, Albert, if you're watching this. Even just little descriptions like this so that I don't have to go and track down where things are supposed to go after the merge is awesome. So this should make it pretty easy. We will get this guy recompiled. The other drawback is whenever you switch branches, especially going back in history this far, it almost always has to do a full recompile because everything is different. Which is fine. We'll work through it. We will work through it. And for all of you who have been jumping in and even just helping people out with questions on the Gitter channel, I do appreciate that too. I try to make sure that I get in and make sure that everyone has an answer. So don't feel bad if I come in and throw an answer after you. It just means that I felt like there was something to add. But a lot of times when I'm seeing people answer questions, it's really good stuff in there. So I encourage people to ask questions, and more importantly, if you see a question that you know the answer to, feel free to chime in and help out. And don't worry about being wrong or whatever. We all make mistakes. Even I screw up when I'm typing code in there sometime. So let's see. What are we squawking about? What was the error? Oh, that's great. What was the error? Access to path is denied. Sigh. Didn't we just go through this? So we're going to just try one more time. I may not have given it enough time to kill the MS build processes. It's worth knowing that if you have multiple instances of Visual Studio opening, yeah, it's going to squawk at me again. Dang nabbit. Let's see if we can just do this way. Let's bring this guy over, and we're just going to hunt down these MS build processes. I think if I do this and just whack them here, this will also do the same thing of forcing it to relaunch them. See if that works. I think that's the same. I don't know for a fact, so don't quote me on that. I do know that the issue is MS Build holding file handles open, but I'm not entirely clear if that's the symptom or the root cause. And so regardless, killing Visual Studio and relaunching will force those processes to restart. Huzzah! Looks like we are in business. Debug output. We are launching. Excellent, excellent, excellent. And at some point there are some warnings and just error output. I've been ignoring that. But if anybody wanted to go through and fix that, I would be very grateful. Okay, button styles. Not to get too far off track. So these guys here, let's see, I think it's Windows. Let's grab a magnifier and let's just zoom in on this guy a little bit. So I think yeah, I do see that rounding. Yeah, we probably want to, too much zoom. We probably do want to change up that corner radius a little bit, or at least change it to use the attached property so that other people can modify it. So let's go back and go and have more fun with our good buddy rebase. So because master is in sync already, we can just jump straight to rebase. And once again, merge conflicts. Huzzah! Let's see here, what do we got? This is where it might get a little interesting. Dynamic resource. Actually, I think what I'm going to do real quick, abort rebase. I think what I'm going to do is just cheat and reload all. I think I'm just going to copy out, and maybe I can grab it right off of this file's changed. I think I'm just going to grab the change that was done. Buttons outlined, buttons outlined 2. So I think I'm just going to grab this, and then I'll just take master's change for everything having to do with the demo file, and then we'll just go and find the flat buttons and bring this code in next to it, since I know we did a redesign of that page. So come back over here, re-kick off that rebase. So I think that'll make it a little bit easier rather than trying to merge these things together. Because I think the merge is just going to cause the Xaml to go all crazy on me. So I think what we'll do is we'll just, so we'll take master wholesale, take that, continue rebase. That should be it. Okay, so what does it now show the change? So it's worth noting you can always do these rebases and then deal with the fallout and check to make sure it's right. As long as you don't push, you can always throw away your local branch and start over again. So, oh, it looks like Looks like we may be in business. Cool. Cool. Let's get that guy reloaded and make sure that he still works correctly again, and then we will see about handling that corner radius issue. And then we'll have one more style to use, which will be great. At some point I need to, there was a PowerShell script that was written and done for generating out the markdown for all of the styles. And I need to get that integrated into our pipeline, because I'd like to have the Azure pipelines every time changes are merged in, have it automatically update a doc out on the wiki so that people don't necessarily have to churn through the code base to find what styles exist for which controls, so that there's an actual list that's just sitting out there. I think that would make it easier for everybody. Because I don't mind when people ask and say, hey, what about this style, what about that style? But it is a little obnoxious, even for myself, just trying to use it. I find myself going back to the demo app a lot and going, oh yeah, we had something that looked like, oh that, and having to find the style key that way, which that works. I just think that it would be easier if there was a flat list, and especially if it was something that was automatically done when a pull request merged. That would make me even happier, because then it's not something I have to try and manage. There's several things I'm hoping to get automated as part of those pipelines to go through and do. So if anyone is an Azure DevOps expert and would like to help with the pipelines, please message me on Gitter. I would be happy to walk through some of the changes that I would like to get in to the pipelines that we're using, and if you want to help out with it, that would be awesome. I would happily accept help there. So that goes there. The only issue here is I think we're missing an N. Learn more, learn less. So let's just fix that real quick. LEA. So we'll just throw that on there. Okay. So now on this style, so you'll notice, and this is actually a perfect case for it. So you'll notice right on this example here, this is our new attached property for the corner radius. So what I think what we're going to do, so I want to jump back to the comment that was made on here. I think it was actually made on the original issue. And I don't know if issue : the number will cause it to be resolved, but at least it makes for an easy link. So I guess it's right here. So there was a comment down here about the outline. The corner ones in the spec are a tiny bit more rounded, however. So let's go. I think we had a link to the spec, didn't we? Yeah. Magnus had put that in. So let's take a look and see if they actually define what the corner radius should be, or if it's just you should have a corner radius and it should be something. Because there's some areas of the spec that are pretty loose, and some areas where they're very specific. So in our case, we're doing the outline button. What? It did not take me where I wanted to go. Let's try that one more time. Navigate me to the outline button. Container, states, outline button. Okay, thank you. So, great. This is when to use it. States for it. Doesn't really define. Let's go back to the top and see if this guy has a specs. contain button with icon, contain button. So they declare a min width. They declare sort of an internal padding of the content of 16. And figure out what that 1 is in relationship to. The 16 is clearly there. I cannot imagine. Doesn't really give me. So these ones here are saying 4. Typography, color, shrine, because these are different other libraries that have implemented it. So let's just radius. Yeah, so they don't really care if you have a big corner radius either. There is a good question about what should it be. So, given that, I think the key thing is here we need to have a reasonable default, and it needs to be overridable with the attached property. So step 1, setter property, let's see, WPF colon button assist, corner radius, value, so 2 will match at least feature parity of what we have before. And then this guy here, so you'll notice, for example, like this feedback guy propagates down. Some extra white space on the end of that. Let's clean that up too. You know what I might do is these are the only 2 properties not on their own line. Just move these down. I think that's a little bit clearer to look at. And then you are probably going to end up the same way. There's not a real fine line of when to do each of these styles, aside from what do I think looks good. So we need to do, so you can't do a template binding to an attached property, but what you can do is a relative source binding. So templated parent, and then we come over here and do path, and then parenthesis, let's see, WPF, button assist, corner radius, something like that. Kill execution so that ReSharper can figure itself out. Some things just don't work for a live Xaml edit and continue. So I do wonder what the appropriate corner radius should be. So I think in the interest of making this similar, what do you use? What do you use? Yeah, so this is the same thing here. So what is the default of this? So the default of this is 2. So even by doing nothing, this setter is actually kind of meaningless. I kind of like the explicit set here regardless. I think it exposes, I think it makes it more obvious to people that they can override this. So I think I may just leave it for now. And our other buttons are all doing 2 as well. So I think what I'm going to do, is since I don't see a strong guidance in the spec about exactly what the corner radius should be, in the interest of keeping our other ones matching, because I think it would look a little weird if you flipped from like the flat button to the outline button. I think I'm just going to leave it at 2. And if you want something different in your app, the attach property exists, and you are free to modify that to whatever makes the most sense. So reasonable default, and it can be overridden. I like it. I like it. Let's see where we're going here. So let's see, what's the change here? We added the N for the spelling. Hurrah. And then let's take a look at this guy here. So we added the setter for corner radius, even though this duplicates the default value, so not explicitly necessary. We're going to leave it for now. This guy then has a corner radius here. Oh, that's one thing we should do real quick before I get too carried away. Let's just go through and make sure. It's always good to test your work. So we'll do a really big corner radius just to, come on, copy operation should not be difficult. There you go. We'll just slap in a big number here just to make sure that this actually does work the way we expect. And then if that gives us a nice large rounded corner, we'll merge this in and we'll have 2 more items for the release done. We'll have a nice outline button style to go to boot. Come on. You can do it, Visual Studio. I'm guessing OBS is probably chewing a sizable percentage. Yeah, it looks like OBS and Visual Studio get to fight for who gets the most compute power. Great. And more of those binding errors. I do often wonder how much of my life is wasted looking at that same initial binding error. At some point it'll annoy me enough to go and look at it and actually get it fixed. I suppose we can go through and look at doing this and just validate that we didn't break anything else while that guy's firing up. So border brush is still set. Border thickness still set the same. Those are all just new line and white space changes all the way down through here. So it really is just the one change. So this file we can stage. Let's go look at it. So we should see a button with a very large corner radius. And we do. Great. Sweet. I'll take it. Let's go through and we will pick that up and one more change down. So this change now should just be the 1N. Great. Stage all changes. Let's see. Added corner radius support. Great. So take those guys. And then once again, because we rebased it, we've effectively done a rewrite of the Git history. We are going to push, and it's going to complain because we've changed a whole bunch of stuff. We're going to say, nope, trust me, I know better. Force push that guy on up. And we should be able to go back and squash merge. So we'll come back over here. And we're just we won't wait for the CI to kick off since we just ran it locally. I know at some point this is going to bite me, but make sure we get a nice thank you comment in there, And that guy is now merged for the 2.6.0 release. Did it auto-resolve this for me? It did not. But we can now close this issue out. 2 more things off the list. And the list gets shorter. We are cruising. Okay. So this is just a wiki change, and I don't know if this is completely necessary or not. So this is I've left this issue and pull request sitting open. And there's a nice long link through it. I think there's another comment that probably should be put in there too, just for the wiki changes. The short version is occasionally things can get off by a pixel because of the way WPF does layout rounding, and so especially with like dark theme, it gets more obvious. So with dark theme, it usually shows up as little white lines. In light theme, it shows up as kind of little gray lines, where it's tried to smooth over the fact that things don't line up. If you set layout rounding to true, typically at the root, so this means either at your main window or your top level user control or whatever is reasonably high level, that should fix the problem because it'll force all of the children to effectively, rather than doing fractions of a pixel, actually round it to whole pixels so things actually line up right on the pixel boundaries, which is what you want. Let's take a look at this. This is one that we toyed around with for a while. So the goal was to have a prettier looking scroll bar. There was a bunch of discussion and back and forth. And this one from like Google Hangouts. And I think somebody, this pull request actually implements it. Yeah, and so there's a bunch of changes here. Let's see. So, and then the possibility of a toggle to put the repeat buttons back on. The only thing with that is this style seems to largely be about removing them. And so at that point, it seems more like the request is turn this style back off. So let's take a look, because I do want to revisit this. I think at a minimum, even if it's not on by default, I would like us to have a good material design scroll bar added into the library that can be used. So, boy, files changed 256. This sounds like something just needs to be rebased. Let's start with that. That seems like the proper way to go. So, we will pull in the latest master change from our merge, or I guess our squash merge. And then let's switch back to that branch. And then we will get rid of this branch, because we should no longer need it. Great. Okay, so now that that's cooking. Okay. What was the magic poll number? 651. So let's go and look at pull request 651. Wow, it is the oldest pull request, 2 years ago. Oh boy. There's probably only going to be a few changes that need to be made on this one. Okay, so we're way back in our history tree, back in the the middle of nowhere. And so let's go back. And let's see what it's going to take to rebase this. Let's see here. What is this guy showing me? Why is this added corner radius support? Oh, it's because I still have the remote. We don't need that remote anymore. We merged the pull request. So that can go away. There, that looks more like I would expect. Okay, so let's see how painful this is going to be. This patch has already been applied, so that says that somebody did a merge from master at some point. That was way too easy. Way too easy. Okay, so let's look at these diffs. So, whole lot of changes. And the same type of thing here. So lots of cleanup, lots of good changes through there. Lots of good changes through there. So this basically boils down to scroll bar and scroll viewer. So these are effectively on by default. Okay, so let's go and take a look at the library now. Probably just needs to reload the universe. And okay, so guy's fired up, and let's just launch and see how it goes. So it might be pretty simple. I do recall there was a lot of, I'm trying to refresh myself on exactly all of the conversation on this, because there was a lot of bits. There's this corner radius part that should be there. There's an example of this here. Yeah. So that's right, the minimalistic smile, Gmail score, and the second screenshot looks really nice. So basically this, so the flattened scroll bar with no rounded corners. I kind of think I agree. Yeah, I don't think that's quite the way we're going. Let's jump over here and let's go, like here's an example of it. That doesn't look bad. Let's do like buttons here and take a look. Interesting. So let's do something like color tool and because I'm curious how this looks if I flip it over to dark. Let's go back to buttons. It's a little more prominent in the dark theme than the light theme. I'm wondering how that thing is being styled. But I do like that look. I tend to agree. I believe that's sort of where people came to the same conclusion of they like the repeat buttons gone with maybe some optional bits for corner radius. So yep, I agree with myself there. And so we've at least got 1 and 3. 2 seems to be the same request. So, and then it becomes the question here of do we automatically replace them with the new minimalist style, or do we force you to opt in? Yeah, and this question here about are we sure we want to keep the current one as default? Yeah, and this is one of those weird areas where what really counts as a breaking change when we're talking about look? Because what one person considers a breaking change to the look of their app, someone else might see as an upgrade and be perfectly fine with it. Because I think it's going too far to say that every visual change is a breaking change. I think that's too far to one extreme, but obviously we can't just completely change everything without revving it. And this is a minor version rev, so maybe this is okay. That is one of those hard things that Semver is nice, but it doesn't really define these kind of halfway states. Oh, that's what we're doing. Material design. Let's just jump there. So I'm curious if the specification has any, because I think all of this discussion happened pre-Material Design v2, and I'm curious if there has been any indication regarding scrolling. It is worth noting that our implementation roughly matches this scroll bar here. I'm wondering, does it? So light, slightly darker, even darker when you clicked. So let's go back to our light theme real quick. Toggle that. Oh, that's something else that I need to fix. Because right now you can get yourself into a broken state if you use both the palette and the color tool to change the state of the app. And I think what I need to do is just merge the palette functionality into the color tool and then just kill this page off completely. Because ultimately, you can use the old APIs if you want. I recommend people switch to the new APIs as soon as they're able. But it's not a breaking API change in any regard. But be aware you cannot mix the old APIs and the new APIs. So if you start changing colors in one part of the app with the newer APIs and changing it in the older APIs, you can get yourself into a broken state. So either upgrade all your APIs or don't upgrade any of them, but don't do it halfway. So lighter. So the mouse, so that is one thing that's missing is it does darken when the mouse goes over it, but it doesn't go to that darker state when you actually click down the same way that this one does. And I'm sort of inclined to think that the style of the Material Design website is probably reasonable for what is expected. Let's see. We are looking for something to do with scrolling. And I don't know if they really handle it in a lot of cases. Might take a look at what they do for lists, because lists inherently scroll. I doubt sliders will have anything, but we'll take a look. And yeah, we'll open up the overview too, and just to see. Yeah, I don't think we're going to find much. Implementing your theme, I don't think that's going to get me anywhere. Okay, so this list, that's interesting. We kind of support this, but it would be nice to have a nice, easy way to do this, similar to the way the Xamarin Forms has built-in view cells. Might be nice to consider that at some point. I don't know how important it is to people, but I have considered going through trying to build out these simple demos like this, and in some areas it's a lot harder in our library than it needs to be. So it doesn't mention anything on the scroll. Nothing on the scroll. Nothing on the scroll. So I think what we probably go for is mimicking this scroll bar here. So right now it seems like the most reasonable thing I've got. This is all list related and list item stuff, which is great, but has absolutely nothing to do, doesn't show off the scrolling, and that's one of the kind of fundamental problems. Yeah, this is the actual slider control. Is because material design was initially written for Android, some of the things that involve cursor or mouse interaction just aren't really defined, because it's largely driven by what would make for a really great touch interaction, which is fine. I mean, that's what it was designed for, but we're kind of repurposing this design specification onto a runtime that it wasn't really designed for. So, not that it's bad, it just means that there's ambiguity that we have to resolve. So, I think what I'm going to, just jump back to this page real quick. I think what I'm going to do is, we'll use the current one as a good starting template, but I think I want to have it pick up, so I like the darken there, the press, and then even darker once it's got mouse capture and it's scrolling. So I think that's the one thing that we're missing, is that press interaction. Then I think I'm okay with having this style be the new default inside of it, because we've effectively got the same thing right here. Actually, let me pull that up side by side. So the one thing I'm noticing right out the gate is that the lightness / darkness of this guy could probably go for being a little darker to begin with, because this guy's not even the same, and then more when it goes down. So let's take a quick peek-see and see what, hey, come back. Let's see if we can grab this DOM element. Hoping to see if I can grab whatever this sidebar is. Now, it may come as a shock to some people, but I am not a great web developer. So I kind of I know a lot and plenty to be dangerous, but not really enough to, boy, where is, oh, I wonder if I'm already on the right element. I bet you it's this nav element that actually gets styled. So, scroll bar width. Something's changing there, and I don't see. Don't really see where it's changing. So, border right color, is that what it's using? Black with an opacity? Is that the idea? Regardless, regardless of what that's supposed to be, I think we're looking to mirror that a little better. And right now, we are not. So, back over to code. So we will go into our theme library, into the theme, and I believe we saw from our pull request that all the changes from this are in Scrollbar and Scroll Viewer. Right? And I think Scrollbar here, and what do you do? Scrollbar button, material design repeat button, scrollbar thumb vertical. So these are probably the ones that I'm interested in playing with, because those are effectively the same thing. There's the material design scroll bar. A little surprised what I don't see. Interesting. Okay, so the template. The template's outside the style, which is fine. And this guy here. So foreground. And this is probably part of the issue, is this material design selection is a little weak. I think we have under the where is the dark and light? Let's just do this. Oh, it's actually over in the main lib. Got it. Okay. Let's look at light real quick. That was the one that was effectively a little far off. So this guy is using, for the foreground color on this guy, material design selection. Which is here. And I'm wondering if this is expected to be a little bit darker. So, do we have anything that is specific? We don't. We don't. I'm not seeing where this guy. Okay. So then what do you switch to? Because you clearly had a different style when the mouse went over you. Orientation. So I think that's probably in the thumb. So once again, so it's switching between divider and selection when mouse is over. And then it's sticking with divider when dragging. And I don't think this is correct. I think this is sort of the problem that we want to solve. So that while this is being, more importantly, while it's dragging or while the mouse is down, we want to darken that up. So let's look at one more thing real quick. So WPF default control templates. I'm curious if there is an actual key for the scroll bar color. and that we should take use of. So let's see, scroll viewer styles and templates. Let's jump into here. So this is the, let's see, scroll bar control template. So I'm curious where you page button, scroll bar thumb. Interesting. So that is because you'll notice that scroll bar even in Chrome has a bit darker of a color. I'm thinking what we might want to do is just muddle with the opacity of it a little bit. I'm thinking, so let's just play around for a minute. Material design selection. So we throw that guy in there, right? And then I think what we do is we HD set it something like 0.7, right? And then on mouse over, rather than this setter, we zero it out. Doesn't really give me a good darkening one while dragging. Think about that for a minute. So then let's go here, trigger properties is, I think rather than, I think is mouse captured is what we're looking for. Value true. Actually, what we're going to do real quick. So, when in doubt, the fuchsia is big and ugly. So, let's just relaunch this guy here, and we'll take a look and see where this fuchsia actually lines up. But I think this is probably what we're looking for to simulate this same behavior for this scroll bar here. Because I think somewhat mimicking what the Chrome's look of this scroll bar with what's being done here with the minimalist style without the repeat buttons on the top. Oh, it is also interesting that if you click, oh, I guess no, it does do the small and large jumps. It's just that the jumps are set really big. And that could be an artifact of the web not necessarily always having 100% control on the browser itself. Or my own ignorance of web development. Let's take a look at this. And so I think it was the buttons. Oh, no, we were just using this guy right here, weren't we? Oh, so 1, not 0 is probably better. So light, slightly darker on mouse over. Doesn't actually change it, so the mouse capture must not be happening in there. So let's make you something like blue. Make sure that that guy triggers where we expect. So it is the dragging property, because as soon as this goes down, even it with my mouse moving, it is flipping over. So that's the one that needs to end up being darker. I'm almost tempted to just straight up use black. I'm really hesitant. Like, I like the idea of one of these. I'm just really hesitant to dive in head first and use them. Let's jump over here and let's try this guy. So that's the one we were using. That's full on right there. Boy. Seems like that is just not dark enough. And I'm really hesitant to add new brushes here when we don't necessarily need them. So that's right. We were looking to see if there was a binding background. This would allow for a little bit cleaner. So let's do this. Setter, property, background, value, dynamic, resource. And then this just becomes template, binding, background. So that'll make it a little easier to override, especially if we go this opacity route. Boy, that is not working. Because even at full, let's just whack this. Even with no transparency to it, it still has, because the brush has an opacity set on it, it is. So let's, I hate doing this, but let's just look at this, right? So if we do this, and that gets us really, really close. Wait a minute, what's going on here? How is that? Let's relaunch, because I would not have expected it to give me that mouse over effect, because I would have expected the opacity to be already at 1, and so this setter here should have had no effect. So I'm a little shocked that that would do it. I think we can effectively get rid of this trigger here too. I am wondering if we got ourselves into a little bit of a bad state, because the Xaml edit continue is great and it works really well right up until it doesn't. And then you occasionally have to relaunch. So something's causing this guy to actually have interesting. So let's something else. Let's look and see if there's anything else that might be messing with this. So there's an enabled setter, which makes sense. Scrollbar button. This is on a repeat button. This Oh, I wonder if this is hosting it and this is, well, no, this is an enabled check. There is a background and a border brush that's being set here, but could that be what's doing it? Let's keep looking. So that's enabled. Scrollbar thumb vertical, which is what we were messing with. Okay, I don't see it. And when we don't see it, we fire up our old pal Snoop and we take a look at what is going on with this. Because when the mouse isn't over with this, I would expect this scroll bar to be black, black, black. Or I would expect the thumb to be black. Because we have set its background to black with the template binding straight into it. So I don't expect this to be showing an optional color here. So we'll let Snoop fire up and target the application. And then we're going to take a look and see what is going on. So pro tip with Snoop, when you fire it up, put your cursor over the element that you want to inspect and press Control-Shift. And it'll automatically navigate your visual tree in Snoop into the element under your cursor. It doesn't 100% work because hit testing, if you're trying to target a control that isn't easily hit testable, it's not always clear which element's under the cursor, and sometimes you kind of have to target a nearby element and then just navigate your way in, but it'll get you a whole heck of a lot closer than trying to go through and manually just go through this nesting. That'll take forever. So things that we are interested in. So also worth noting, this filter here, you can just type in what you're looking to search on, and you can do pipe to do OR conditions. So let's see, we want opacity, maybe background, and let's just see what's happening. So this guy claims to be black. An opacity of 1. Hovering on him makes no effect. Let's look here. This is the background, and let's look at the fill property too. So this guy also seems to claim all the way through, which means this has to be coming from higher up. It's not there. It's not there. Vertical scroll bar. Aha! The entire vertical scroll bar has, and the fact that I'm seeing that number not jump, I'm seeing it animate, means that guy is our culprit, and he is guessing in the scroll viewer, and probably either in these storyboards. These are being done with triggers. We should probably look real quick. I suspect we can get away. Typically, I try to avoid triggers like this in favor of using the Visual State Manager. So we might look real quick and just see what visual states are available to us. Because if we can switch those to a Visual State Manager, that would be my preference. It doesn't always mean that it's an option. Let's look at the scroll viewer itself. Okay. Yeah, so this guy doesn't have the visual state for it. Valid, invalid focus. So I'm thinking that's probably part of the problem. Is we should, because the scroll bar itself has the visual states. So I'm thinking part of this is this part of the template here needs to go away, and this logic should get migrated into the scroll bar itself. That way we can take advantage of the Visual State Manager, which is probably better. So let's take a look. So what exactly is this guy doing? He is just taking the scroll bars and animating the opacity from 1 to 0.56. And I'm thinking there's a bug right here. And that is actually expected to be a 1. Because that'll do no animations. So that's probably part of it. Okay, so this guy is just doing these animations. And I think what we're going to do is we're just going to whack these guys. So we don't need any of those. So on mouse over, we expect to go, or I should say when the mouse is not over it, we expect the opacity to be at 0.56. And when the mouse is over it, we go to 1 in 0.2 of a second. So let's go back to our scroll bar, and let's take advantage of our Visual State Manager. So in here, yeah, I think we want to do this here. So and we might actually even be able to cheat if we just go over here. We can probably grab this guy. A lot of times I find it's easier to just grab the existing Visual State Manager. This is targeting the repeat button though. Thumb, vertical scroll bar. Oh, so maybe I've got the wrong control altogether, and this should actually be going on the style for the repeat button. So Scrollbar States, but it does say that the scroll bar has the following visual states. Their template just does not show them, because there's the thumb, vertical scroll bar, there's the grid at the root of the control template, a track, and they are not applying it. They're only setting these ones. So let's see, normal mouse over, pressed, disabled. Mouse over, disabled. So not quite the same visual states, but we want to grab normal, mouse over, and disabled, I think, are probably the three that we're going to care about. So let's go back, paste, normal, mouse over. We're not going to do pressed. We are probably going to do disabled. And let's go back over here, and we'll just steal one of these storyboards real quick. So I think in the normal case, we want to, let's look at this real quick. Gradient, key time, these are just straight up setters. They aren't actually doing transitions. That's okay. That is okay by me. But I think we can set these a little, these attached properties a little higher up. there. So double animation. So we are going to be targeting what? We've got a border with a track sitting on top of it. Oh, and that's interesting. The is enabled is being bound to is mouse over. Is that? That feels like a mistake. Where is the control path arrow? So not in line. Yeah, I'm not sure we want is enabled being bound to is mouse over. Thumb. Scrollbar thumb, the style's getting applied, border brush, background, increase repeat button, yeah, decrease repeat button, so top button, thumb in the middle, scroll down button, and this is largely what's driving this. So that's funny. Boys, so much, something so simple is yet so complicated. Okay, so let's go back to where we were going. So I think what we were saying is we were going to target the opacity of the track, because this was initially being done higher up and targeting the entire scroll bar. So if we target something a little more nested, I think, is the thumb expected to be named? No, but it is expected to have a track part. Let's just make sure we've got all the template parts defined. We'll just track, okay? Which it is declared. So on normal, we'll go at 0. And then this should be the opposite of 056. The problem is this is making an implicit idea of where this should go to. Interesting. So I guess I'm left with an interesting choice then. So I've detoured several times, so let's just back up and reorient for the most part. So we'll collapse this because we're really just concerned with these two styles here for the moment. Because we've got the individual thumb, which needs to do something. Probably on this overlay here. So there's some amount. So this mouse over really doesn't matter, right? So I think what actually needs to happen is this needs to go away. This guy needs to move down here. And this guy needs to be something like this, right? So the mouse over effect will be controlled at the scroll bar. The darkening when you start dragging will be controlled. We'll turn off the blue. Will be controlled on the thumb itself. So when you start when you initially hover over, this guy is going to get 80% of whatever this background is, which is currently black, right? So this thing will be 80% black with whatever additional opacity is applied here, because this is going to be effectively, I believe it's multiplicative, because this scroll bar contains the thumb itself. And then when we start dragging, we'll get slightly darker by moving this from 0.8 to 1. But I'm guessing what we'll end up doing is this guy won't be fully at 1 himself. Let's just whack this for the moment. Clear that out. We don't need that. Mouse over disabled. Yeah, sure, we don't need you either. So we'll clear you out. We'll clear you out. That will go there. Because this guy, the scroll bar itself, is getting a background set of transparent, which is what this guy is showing. So the scroll bar itself effectively has no background. So whatever this guy is can show through. And we are totally hung for the moment while it goes through and updates the universe. Completely hung. We'll go through and relaunch. And I am getting close to closing out my stream, so I don't know if we're quite going to finish this. I would like to get this in, but I'm starting to realize how much work is going to be involved in testing all of the states for this. So this guy might not get done. Or I should say, this guy almost assuredly won't get done tonight, but I'd like to get through this next test just to make sure. Just to make sure that I'm actually thinking about this correctly, and then figuring out what we're going to do as far as theme sizes. It is worth noting that if people want a narrower width, as was mentioned, you can control it here. It's probably worth at least an entry on the wiki page showing an example of doing that. That way, if you want to go through and change out your scroll bars, you can do so. So that works. The only darkening that happens is when I'm actually dragging. So if we then go through and deal with these states here, where the normal state applies a little bit more opacity to this, we'll take that off. Wait, what? Let's relaunch, because I didn't expect that to actually cause that to break like that. Nope, not what I was looking for. So I think if we go through and implement the visual states for this control, such that in normal it applies some opacity to it so it fades out a little bit more, and then on the mouse over we'll remove some amount of that, and then this guy will have some applied normally, and we'll remove all of it and go, from his perspective, opaque, but the final result won't be completely opaque because his parent will still have some amount of opacity set. Oh, so there we go. So that is fine. So that's just that there. So then let's just do this real quick. So storyboard, and then let's see, storyboard, target property, opacity, storyboard, target. It's target name, isn't it? Yeah. Track, and then what is it? Double animation. Oh, can I just do? We can go 2. So on normal, we'll go another 0.8, right? So it'll go from wherever it's at to 0.8. Then on mouse over, it'll go, well, we'll be explicit about this guy here. It'll let that be reversed and go to 1, right? And then obviously on disabled, we should do something else so that it goes, you know, more grayed out. As long as this guy works and we at least get the kind of those 3 states, the faded, then the less faded when the mouse goes over, and then the even more less faded when I start dragging, I'll call this a success, and we can call it a night. Come on, little buddy. There you go. There you go. So let's see. No. So I have done something wrong. Ah, boy. Oh, you know what I should check? Okay, one little test because it's going to bother me if I don't know. Trying to decide if I made a mistake on my storyboards or if this thing is legitimately just wrong. So this guy's track, we were supposed to be animating opacity 0.8. So it is actually, so it's working. So there's a couple problems. Was it duration? Should be 0:0:0.2. So the duration is being inferred, which is inferring way too long. And this value is apparently not big enough to see easily. So do that. Come back here. So let's get that off of there. Ha ha ha! 3 states. 3 states. That's what we wanted. So mouse not over, it's lighter. Mouse over, it gets darker. Mouse down and drag, it gets even darker than that. Okay, so that makes me feel better. There is still an outstanding question of, obviously we don't want to hard code this guy black because, you know, that fails on dark theme and whatnot. So we need to deal with that situation, but I think we are on the right track. No pun intended. Scrollbar track. It must be late. My jokes are starting to get bad. So with that, I think I'm going to call it, and we will probably pick this up next time, or we'll see if I get it knocked out in the meantime. As a reminder for people who are interested, Thursday's stream is going to be more system command line, probably related to the rendering library, which lets you do some fancy stuff with laying out your output for being able to, say you want to output like a grid of information, that kind of thing, or have an automatically updating progress bar. So we will probably be looking at that, maybe fix some bugs, add some features, that sort of thing. And we will go from there and have some fun. But we will rest assured this material design library will still be getting some work done on it in the meantime, even if it's not necessarily on the live stream. So thank you everybody for watching. As always, I do appreciate it when people tell me that they've watched or are interested in me continuing to do these. So if that's you and you're enjoying these and you'd like to see more of them, I do appreciate it if people subscribe or shoot me a message or something so that I don't feel that my time is completely wasted. So with that, I'm going to say goodnight. Have a good one.